These are the answers for I do, you do, fraction, decimal, percent. I'm going to review with you how I teach this just real quickly. Fraction, decimal, percent. How do you change a fraction or decimal? Well, if I think about a fraction, it is a division problem. Two things on top of each other means divide. So I divide them. They will turn into a decimal. I then want to go to a percent. I need to bounce the decimal 2 places to the right, which means you're taking it times 100, and that becomes 75%. If I wanted to go the other way, and let's say I had 8.3%, I would need to bounce the decimal 2 places left. That means I'm dividing by 100, which will give me 0.83. And then if I read that mathematically, by the way, you read it by where it ends, the place value of what it ends in. So when I read 0.83, I read it as 83, ends in the hundredths place. I've gone fraction, decimal, percent by divide, 2 places right, 2 places left, read it. So the first one says change 7/8 to a decimal. Well, once again, it's in this category, and I want to go to this category. So 7/8 is 7 divided by 8. The top number goes in the box. Put out some zeros, and you're ready to divide it. It goes in there 8 times. Goes in there 7 times. And goes in there 5 times. So we end up with a decimal of 0.875. The next problem is to change that 7/8 to a percent. Well, I've already changed it to a decimal, so let me just go ahead and bounce the decimal 2 places right. Remember, we're multiplying by 100 because percents, if you think about the percent sign, it has the makings of 100, and percent, the cent, stands for 100. So divide by 100 or multiply by 100, that's how you're going to be going between the decimal version and the percent version. So to get it to be a percent over here, all I have to do is bounce that decimal 2 times or multiply it by 100, and that becomes 87.5. Then make sure you put the label on it, percent. The next problem is to change 0.143 to a percent, so I know it's in the decimal category right now, 0.143. If I want to change it to a percent, I simply move the decimal 2 places right, which is once again is taking it times 100, and it becomes 14.3, and don't forget the label, percent. To change that 0.143, to a fraction, I simply read it again. Remember, it was a 0.143. I read it by the place value that it ends in, so I count that. That's the tenths, that's the hundredths, that's the thousandths place. So I'd read that as 143 thousandths. And there it is as a fraction. Last one is to convert 9%. It's over here in the percent category, and if you can't see the decimal's at the very end. So that's 9%, and I want to go to a decimal. Well, remember, to move it back to a decimal, we're going to actually do what the percent sign says, because that percent sign says per, which means divide by, cent, 100. We need to divide by 100, which simply bounces the decimal 2 places to the left. We fill it in with a 0, and it becomes 0.09, and now we can drop the percent sign. Last one is to convert that 9% to a fraction. There are 2 ways to do that. I'm going to go back to what it looked like, 9%. If we realize that 9% means 9 divided by 100, another way to write 9 divided by 100 is just to write 9 divided by 100, and it looks like a fraction, if that makes sense. The other way you can do it is move the decimal 2 places like we did to turn it into a decimal, and then read that decimal. If you read that decimal, it's 9, and it ends in the hundredths place, so 9 hundredths, and that's how we would read it